trapped in a world before later on. We're trapped in a world before later on. Where's our tail ray? Where's our space face? Where are all the complications we won't see around?
Hello, everyone. Oh, there's two of me. Hold on. Take care of that. There we go. Only one of me now. Today could be interesting. I'm not going to lie. Today could be interesting because, I've been coughing a little bit, like, all day. I honestly should have maybe postponed, but I didn't think of that! And today's a Cat chapter! I'm the thinker-aheader. It's me. It'll be fine, probably. Hopefully it doesn't happen too much. But we're here now, so once I start, I cannot stop. Mainly because I don't know how I would go about that. I've never had to before. Yeah, I'm the brain haver. I'm so brain haver. Do not even worry about it. It's like fine. It's like fine. It's like fine, probably. It's not that bad. It's like fine. Now I'm at home and I don't have to worry about... Now I'm at home and I don't have to hold back the coughs so they can actually be effective instead of me just being all timid because I'm surrounded by people who are trying to work. Fucking hopefully. I'm hoping that, like, you know, focusing really hard to the point of dissociating. Not really dissociating, but, like, you know, being so immersed in the fiction that there's no such thing as me. Is that just dissociating? I'm not sure. But anyway, hopefully when that happens, it'll make whatever happens with my body not happen. It's called getting into character! Does every actor just have a lot of dissociation? Acting is just dissociation. Same joke. Control dissociation on command. Well, I mean, worst case scenario, I have to call it, which I won't do. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna do that. I'll tell you straight up, I'm not gonna do that. So, realistic worst case scenarios, I just have to mute on occasion so that you don't have to hear me half die. I'm not dying. It's either allergies or 'tis the season. But, on the plus side, today is, still a bit of a shorter one. I don't remember by how much. Let me look real quick. So here's yesterday. Okay, it's like barely longer than last time. So yeah, pretty short one for sure. So it won't be a disaster. It won't be a disaster. I promise. What else was I going to say? Yesterday I exploded. Yesterday my guts had a bad time. For like 2 hours I was in hell. And then I was fine after. Like for 2 hours I was in hell and then I was just fine. And I've been fine. So I think it was just for that. I'm not like gonna die or anything. So that's nice. I appreciate not dying. Speaking of not dying, oh god. I'm like way too upbeat about this. Today last year was kind of a day for me. And I'm not gonna go into details about it. But it is pretty much the worst thing that ever happened to me, and it didn't even technically happen to me, really. Anyway, enough about that. Let's check in on some gay people, right? Isn't that what we're here for? Isn't that what we're really here for? Gay people! So, yeah, I think, enough goobering around. Is that... I just coined a new phrase. Enough dilly-dallying. I think it's time that we get to the main event. Instead of just talking about things that today and yesterday have been for me. Bam. Things that yesterday and today have been for me. Man. It's been. No, I've got to stop goofing around. And I just got to get to the part where I say welcome one and all to the 54th installment of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Harper, but you can call me KK. My pronouns are they, it. If you're new, please read the rules, be chill, and have a good time. That's all we're really here for. What is going on is this. Me clapping. Your Words Destroyed My Planet by Unda is a 1 million word homestuck fic that focuses on Dave Soulcat. It is an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force known as the Void, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. As of now, the fic is currently unfinished, but like, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Read it anyway. It will change your life. It will change your brain chemistry. This is a threat. And that's coming from someone who it happened to. Why else would I be here doing this? Unda thrives off of our sanity, and it's okay, I didn't need mine. You could have it. You could have it, it's fine. Who needed that shit? I'd just as soon be rid of it. In this stream series, I do aim to read the entire fic out loud by myself. Because as I said, my brain chemistry did get altered by this fic. And by altered, I mean replaced with? I don't have a brain anymore. There's just this. Wah. Get rid of that shit. Hey, Wander, can you ban them? Thank you. We did that. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. So, what's on screen right now is the, information and tags for the fic. Do take note of these, and be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. Do whatever you need to do. If you would like to read back, roughly what I just said, you can type !fic about in chat. That's a good way to sort of catch people up to speed if they show up to the chat in the middle of the stream and have no idea what the fuck's going on. That'll sort of give them an idea. So, that's mostly what that's for. I almost scrolled down on the fic instead of looking at the next paragraph in my little note thing. If you would like a link to the fic itself on AO3, which is where it lives, that's its house. You can come over to the fic's house by typing !fic link. That'll take you to chapter 1. And you can, save it for later, or subscribe, or send it to a friend, or send it to your enemies. I don't know why I keep doing that joke. But yeah. !fic link does exactly what you think it will. It'll take you to the link of the chapter 1. It'll take you to chapter 1. We're on chapter 54, so that's quite a big difference, but, I mean, like, what else was I going to do? Update the command every single stream? I think not. I have too much ADHD for that. Sorry. !fic song is a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command sadly cannot tell you which song is currently happening, but that's okay. The song titles live in my brain. You can always ask. And fic song is just kind of, hey, what is this? It's kind of just a place for me to have talked about them, sort of like a director's commentary, but in chat instead of in the thing, because that would be too disruptive. And then !fic sorry is just a couple of disclaimers / apologies, sort of acknowledging the fact that I completely recognize the level of polish I could have given this project if I wanted it to take 10 years. I didn't, so I cut a few corners and, made it a live project. It's a solo project already, and, I'm just one dude, and I'm not a perfect dude, and if you think about it, I'm not even a dude, necessarily, but, yeah, that's just to sort of be like, yeah, sometimes things are a little choppy. Sometimes things are a little hard to understand. Sometimes I don't speak the language that's happening at the moment, because there are little snippets of not English in this, and I'm like, well, I only know the one language, but I'll try my best. But if my best happens to not be correct, please don't kill me. I like being alive. And finally, you can use !VODs, that's !VODS VODs, to get a link to my YouTube archive, where I will be putting every archive for this series, as well as anything else that I may stream, which, not gonna lie, really in the mood for Phasmophobia lately, so, I don't know, I'll check in with Wander after this. I'm interpreting that key smash as foaming at the mouth. Anyway, for these, I do try to put out the VODs, like, pretty much right when I hit stop streaming, so, it never takes especially long for them to go up. The ghosts do keep killing me. Last time, the first 4 rounds in a row, I died. It was actually ridiculous. And yeah, so it's never an especially long wait for the VODs for the fic because I try to get to them just as soon as possible. There is a little bit of a... Exactly! Yes! It's almost like I have a theme! The theme is accidental. Sing at the ghost! And we do! And we do. I mean... You've met me. Wander is very much like me, genetically and personality-wise and interests-wise. So, we do quite often sing at the ghosts. It doesn't work. They do still kill me sometimes. But that's okay. Yeah. You are, in terms of, like, choir kid-itude and theater kid-itude, you are so much less inhibited than I am. And that's because I'm afraid of everyone and everything. Anyway. That is such a tangent. In order to get things back on track, I mean, there's really nothing else to say except for I've told you everything about the stream that isn't the stream, so let's do the stream. I present to you, ladies and gentle whatevers, this is Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 54. The thing is that we all know Dave knows this stuff well enough to know what he's talking about, Solix says with a tired frown. Right, he said, screamed about it, right in my ear. He knows the difference between a weird dream and a void dream. You agree. And sure, whatever I do without remembering seems to work differently to your shared thing. Solix continues. Are you going to lift this weight, or are you going to keep talking to procrastinate? You challenge him. Solix, who was definitely procrastinating, glares up at you from the bench below. Shut up, he mutters and goes to grab the barbell above him on the rack. Dave said that keeping your back kind of arched when you bench is... You try to say. Shut up! Solix hisses at you, so you leave it. I get your point, though. If your stuff operates on a different frequency to ours, then who's to say that whatever is happening with Dave now isn't the same? You agree. Solix unracks the weight with some effort, and you focus, tracking its shaky path with your hands. Your thing is very obviously messing with things through time, but I don't see why Dave is finding ghost dogs, you say with a frown. Solix's last bench press is looking very shaky, so you stop talking for a moment just to make sure that he's got it, but he does manage to re-rack the weight and then lets his arms fall down like wet spaghetti. It's such a clear visual. I love words. Do all dogs have souls? Is space filled with animal ghosts that are apparently eternal since she's really old, or is she special? You wonder. Solix makes a noise and gesture that communicates that he doesn't know and is also way too exhausted to think more about the spiritual permanence of dogs. He seems to be making progress since then. Emotionally, I mean. You add. Yeah, well, it's Laika and he's Laika. No shit. Solix says breathlessly. You can't deny that. Dave clearly picked his call sign because he felt a connection to the poor dog and her awful fate, because he saw himself in a trapped and helpless test subject whose sacrifice was supposedly for the benefit of everyone. Dave has told you several times in the days since his dream that he'd told Laika that she was good, that she did a good job, and that he wanted to keep her safe and let her rest. The implications are pretty fucking obvious to you and Solix, but from the fact that Dave keeps telling both of you and Beck about it makes you think that he's still processing it. Even if the idea hasn't fully filtered through, you can see that it is leaving its mark on him. Dave doesn't seem as on edge and directionless as he's been before. Processing his feelings as the dog's feelings are probably giving him enough distance to be able to sort things out without it being entirely too much. That doesn't mean it's not still a hell of a lot to deal with, but it seems a little easier, at least. Come on, again, you tell Solix, tapping the bar with your hand. Solix groans, but it does indeed start another bench press set. He's still looking very shaky, so you keep spotting him closely, your hands near to the bar and following his movement. You've never actually had to catch anything for anyone before, so you really don't want to do it wrong. Although, who are you kidding? If Solix actually failed at this, there's no way in hell it'd ever fall and hit him. He'd psionically catch it on a reflex, you're sure. You're still going to do it because you're supposed to, and because if he somehow did screw it up and failed to psionically catch the bar, you'd feel awful about it. Also, in a line of thinking that you know is irrational, you'd feel that if you decided that he didn't need you to be there just in case, then that would be the one time that he would fail to catch the bar psionically, which would of course make it your fault, making you feel awful forever. You keep watching and realize that Solix looks shakier and shakier, so you— Oh, fuck! You grab the bar just as it starts to drop, sheer panic fueling you. Solix squeaks in fear and then stares up at you. Oh, fuck, are you okay? You blurt out, full of worry. Did you just bicep curl a weight I can't even bench press? And you're still doing it? Solix demands, scrambling upright and out from under where the bar was. You look down and see that this is in fact exactly what you're doing. You'd caught the bar when it fell and yanked it all the way up against your chest to keep Solix safe. You awkwardly set the bar back in the rack, but your Moirel is staring at you almost accusingly. Is that why you said you weren't going to do the same thing as me? You're trying to stop me from feeling bad or something? Solix asks you in an offended and suspicious tone. No. Dave had me on this yesterday, and he said that you're not supposed to do the same thing 2 days in a row when it comes to weights. He did explain why, but I definitely started tuning out partway through. You admit. Solix relaxes a little, even if your answer didn't actually give any real explanation for how you weren't trying to spare his feelings. He knows you well enough to tell. At least, he knows you well enough to know when you're trying to hide your motives. Did Dave have his shirt off at the time? Solix asks suspiciously. Fuck, he did. Even now, the mental image alone is enough to send your thoughts darting off in plenty of directions that they shouldn't do. Ha! Busted. Solix laughs at you. Shut up. Are you going to finish this, or should I put it back and unload the weights? You ask him with a roll of your eyes. I think you should keep curling that, or whatever it's called, just so I can see how many you can do. Solix says with a grin. You're gonna be very annoying if I don't, aren't you? You say. You're not really asking, because this is Solix, and he is absolutely going to be annoying to get his way. Solix has always liked you back in the mixed-up way that you like him. The difference is that now that he can be annoying in order to indulge that particular interest. If that means being irritating with impunity to make you lift weights for his entertainment, then he will be. You may as well just do it. With some focus, you get through a decent enough set. Enough that you're shaking and have to put the weights back properly, or else you might drop them too. Solix whistles at you when you do, showing enough consideration to at least wait until he's not risking distracting you to do it. When you look at him to glare, you see that Dave has appeared out of nowhere and is looking at you with the same interested expression that Solix has on. Wow, Carcat. Considering all the rules you know about for HR, I thought that you'd know that you can't have weapons on the ship, and here you are putting on a whole gun show, Dave says with a grin. Solix laughs and fist bumps him. Shut up, you grumble, your face getting hot. Even though you know that they're not lying, you still find it hard to believe that either of them see you like that. Come on, I've got to get you two on some hill sprints. Dave says back, making you and Solix groan in despair. Yeah, no one likes him. Well, I like them, but I don't count. Come on, Dave says, rolling his eyes and gesturing for you two to follow him. If I have to get somewhere quickly on Skya, I'm just going to fly. Besides, Solix starts. Besides nothing. You've barely got over a month. All I can do is help you with this, Dave reminds him. The more time has passed since Bro got re-killed, the more Dave has slipped into speaking about balancers as you and not us. Clearly, it's not a group Dave feels entitled to call himself part of anymore, even though he can still perceive the void just fine. He's tested summoning Bro many times, and on the odd occasion he's got a shard for a few moments, but he can never hold it. Making sure that the rest of you are okay is clearly important to him, so you'll do what he says, even if it does involve running so hard that you think you're going to throw up. It does not take a lot to get me to that point. I won't lie. Besides, you let Karkat do other cardio work. Why can't we do something that isn't running? Solix goes on, determined to prove that he wasn't trying to squirm out of training. I'm listening, Dave says, slowing down a little. Can't we do something a little bit more realistic to what we might be doing when we're there? Solix asks. Like rock climbing? I've seen Dave do that, and I think the height would make me faint. Plus, I think you'd cheat without meaning to, you point out. Yeah, and I don't really have the time to teach you a new sport. We could ask Polypa if she'd be up for running some war games in the arena that we use for training already. I know she's been running tech stuff for the engineers there, so it's still there. Maybe an obstacle or tactical game? Dave muses. You said game, I'm immediately invested. Solix smiles, almost vibrating with his innate competitiveness when it comes to games of any kind. I'll ask, but for today it's hill sprints, Dave tells you both. In what ought to be a surprise to literally fucking no one, hill sprints suck and are the worst. Dave spares you the running most of the time, letting you get your cardio strength up in boxing, but when he does make you run, you feel like you're dying. After hill sprints, you just wish you were dead. I have news, Dave beams, crouching down next to Solix like the gleeful sadist he apparently is. I hate you, Solix says weakly, his head resting on the console of the treadmill. Same, but you can definitely pass the test now, Dave says cheerily. Wait, really? Solix gasps, suddenly a lot more alert as he looks at Dave. This isn't an exact test, but based on that, I bet money on you passing now. Hold on, sorry. My ability to say sentences in a way that is fluid has gone to sleep. Sorry. This isn't an exact test, but based on that, I bet money on you passing now, he tells him, and Solix flops onto his back on the treadmill with a delighted, yes! Can I pass now? You ask hopefully, but Dave's wince tells you everything. You're doing a lot better than the last time I had you run like this. I think between the boxing and the weights, I can get you there. I might need to get Radia to teach you how she passed the running part. You're way more her class of athlete than mine when it comes to your build and performance. I've already asked her advice, but I think it needs her here. Dave muses, already typing out a message about it, no doubt. What are you trying to say? You ask him sharply, defensive about your body and lack of any kind of decent physique again. Dave looks up from his palm husk with confusion on his face, like it's not even occurred to him that you might have taken that badly. Solix, on the other hand, is grinning at you like he thinks he's about to say the best and funniest thing ever, the smug prick that he is. He means I've got a type. Solix almost purrs out, pleased at flirting with you and making a dumb joke out of it. Dave looks down at himself, at you, and then at Solix. What's my type, then? Dave asks. Hot people who insult you, obviously. You should probably talk to your therapist about that, Solix says back immediately. Dave's jaw has actually dropped at that, and you want to tell Solix off for that, but that was brilliantly done. Solix offers you a fist bump, and you really can't leave him hanging after that. I'm sorry, I have to, you tell the very betrayed-looking Dave. You know, Dave says after pouting for a second, you two don't want to get muscle cramp. You should really run for a bit on a slower speed just to make sure that doesn't happen. Both of you protest, but the look of cheerful malice on Dave's face lets you know that he's not joking at all. Goddamn Solix. I think Jake wants me. Or he's drowning on dry land somehow. BRB, no cheating, Dave says, and walks off about a minute into your cool-down jog torture. You chance a glance in the direction that he went and see that Jake is indeed waving his arms around like a madman, despite Dave already walking over there. You hate running, but at least this speed is close enough to tolerable that you can manage it. You can't help but whine that you have to do it at all, but if it'll stop you from feeling like your entire muscular system personally hates you, then you'll do it. In some small act of mercy, Dave comes back from talking to Jake. He was only away for a few minutes, and when he gets back, he turns your treadmills down slowly and then off. Dave feels a little different. His mind seems to be elsewhere, even as he taps away at your treadmill screen to log everything for whatever reason. Solix has obviously figured out how to do that himself, so he's busy with that, leaving you to look at Dave. Is everything okay? You ask him. Dave blinks, and you see him come back to himself again. You hope that he isn't faking being okay for you. Yeah, Jake was just saying that Dirk wanted to do something. A game night with Hal. Normal stuff. Dave says, in chunks of sentences and not full ideas. At ours? Solix asks eagerly. If you wanted to, if that's okay. Dave answers him and looks at you. Hell yeah, I want to see Hal again, and it was fun last time. Solix nods. I don't mind, and if it's going to be good for Hal, then I'm happy. You add. Dave nods, and that's that. The three of you go off to shower and change, because you and Solix are disgustingly sweaty enough that going home on the train like this is probably a crime. As you're all getting ready to leave, you can see Dave switching off again. He gets like this. Your theory is that he's able to be present when he's feeling okay emotionally, or if he's doing something that he thinks is important, but then at times it's like he retreats. You talk around him, chatting to Solix on your way back home together. When the three of you get back to your hive, Dave sits down and starts messaging his family about this evening, and also talks to Aradia more about you. He's briefly himself again, and then opts to go and sleep for a few hours before his family comes over. When Hal and Roxy show up first, Dave is immediately himself again, but you think you can sense a certain amount of him pretending that everything is okay. Something that isn't there with you two. He's faking it a little, you say quietly, as Dave chats brightly to Roxy and Hal. Solix narrows his eyes and watches the trio for a moment. A little. He's probably just nervous. It's probably self-centered that I'm happy that he doesn't fake it with us, you admit quietly. Your mind catches up to your mouth as Solix muffles a laugh with his hand. Not a word, you groan. Thankfully, the doorbell goes, and you have the excuse of hurrying off to answer it. Solix psionically rearranges the room. You play host and make sure that snacks are distributed properly. Hal catches you to talk for a minute about your translation device. He's been making progress on it, beyond what you'd expected, and he has ideas for how to make the software smarter. You agree to spend more time soon on the translation library to see if this really is something that you can roll out to everyone visiting Skya. It could really make a difference if anyone can use it. Before too long, you're all sat down, and Solix has insisted on a game of Cheat, which you've never heard of, but Dirk and Roxy happily explain the rules as Dave shuffles and deals out the cards. You're sat to Dave's right, Solix is to his left with Hal next to him, then Roxy, Dirk, and Rose. Don't worry, it sounds more complicated than it is. You pick it up really easy when you play. Besides, you don't have to be good to play. Dave's whole strategy is never lying if he can help it. Roxy laughs. Rose straightens up a little at your side, looking at Dave, who is calmly sorting out his hand of cards. Left with the dealer, Dave says casually as he organizes his cards. 2 twos, Solix says immediately, slapping 2 cards down. Dave's face cracks into a wide smile and his shoulders shake with silent laughter. I saw the chance and I took it, Solix says, clearly proud of himself. Aw, too bad they couldn't have been spades as well, Dave says back. And that's how you know that Dave has at least 1 2 of spades in his hand. See? It's not hard. Dirk tells you. Okay. Ugh, I think I'm gonna have to switch hands. Hold on. Hal hisses as he tries to change his cards between his artificial and biological hands. You said your dexterity was good with this one, Solix says in concern. Dexterity's not the problem. The skin texture isn't right, and with this many cards, I think the drag of your fingerprints actually helps to... Hal demonstrates by dragging his artificial thumb over the cards. He gets a certain amount of purchase, but it's clearly not as controllable as he was expecting. I can hold your cards, Solix says, obviously an offer, even though it's not explicitly stated as one. Solix lifts his own free hand, and a red and blue aura glows around it, so he means psionically. Hal obviously deliberates for a second, but relents and nods. With a flick of his finger, Solix arranges Hal's cards in the air for him, low enough so he can move around them and see the table, but close and curved enough so no one else can see his hand, including Solix himself. Solix might be the most psionically gifted troll alive, but even he can't feel the value of a card by psionic touch alone. Thanks. 4 threes, Hal says, plucking 4 cards out of the lineup with his cybernetic hand. Clearly he wants to get the practice in. He just needed a little help first. A bold start. I like it. I have but 1 3, Roxy says, and puts a single card down. You shuffled 2 decks in, right? You check with Dave. Yeah, so there's only 8 threes in there. If the game gets too close that it's boring, then maybe I'll shuffle another deck in the mix next game, but for now it's just the 2. Dave tells you. Okay, so there's only 3 threes left, if everyone was telling the truth, that is. 3 fours, Dirk says simply. Cheat, Dave and Rose say together. Wow, I can't believe that Dave of all... Solix, you didn't put down any 2s at all, you filthy liar. I'm impressed. Dirk laughs as he merges the cards in the middle of the table into his hand. If he had to pick up, then he was cheating. You're starting to get it. Why would I put them down? I want to keep them, Solix cackles. How did you know Dirk was cheating? You ask. It's the way he said it. He can be a little too controlled when he's lying, Rose says. I think we go the other way, Roxy says, looking at Hal. You can believe that, actually. I don't think I need to tell you that I can be quite good at this. 4 sevens, Rose says, putting her cards face down on the newly empty table. Solix is easier to read if he's stressed, and I'm probably awful. Okay, so I can do 7s as well, or go up or down 1? You check as you look at your hand. You got it, and I'm sure you can read Dave just fine, Dirk says mildly, and you notice Rose's eyes flick between Dirk and Dave for a moment. 4 sevens, you say, and put your cards down on Rose's. The table seems tense as everyone else looks around at each other. Only someone else with 7s could know if you and Rose were both truthful, right? I kind of don't want to call that. New player. More likely to be truthful, Roxy muses. And it's hard to tell if intense scowl is Carcat covering up his lie or if he just looks like that all of the time. Hal agrees. I'm tempted to answer that, but that won't actually work out well for me, Solix says innocently. Chicken. So, is anyone calling this or not? Dave asks. I'm not, Rose says lightly. Cool. 4 sevens, Dave says and puts his card down. Okay, no, I can count to 8, and that's not it, you protest. You could count to 8, but not past it then? Hal asks teasingly. Yeah, I'm not calling cheat on that, Solix says, shaking his head. There aren't 12 sevens in the deck. At least one of us is lying. You insist. Right, but it's too late to call out you or Rose. It's not you because I know you weren't lying. I know you too well. So it's either Dave or Rose, Solix says. So play then, Dave shrugs. And it's Dave. He's trying to move the turn on so we can't call him, Dirk explains to you. Dave has no poker face, I swear. I'm gonna call. Roxy snorts. Are you sure about that? Rose asks lightly. Dave's siblings all look at Rose, and you get to see them all realize that Dave isn't actually a bad liar at all. Didn't they all learn that already? So is someone gonna call him or not? Because otherwise I've got 3 8s that need putting down. Anyone? 3? 2? Okay. Solix puts his cards down, and the chance to call Dave a cheat is gone. Cheat, Solix. For the record, I don't actually care if you're cheating, but I gotta know what Dave put. Can you pass him over? I don't want to bump into my magic cards here and, activate my trap card or whatever, Hal says, making grabby motions to the cards on the table. We could absolutely engineer cheat with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Dirk murmurs thoughtfully. Solix passes Hal the cards, and he starts going through them. If someone can figure that out, I would love to hear it, actually. Rose was telling the truth. So was Carcat. And Hal pauses and shuffles back and through the cards for a second. Okay, Solix, you weren't cheating, so... Hal starts. Nope, you asked to pick the cards up. I'm not taking them back. Solix interrupts him. Seems fair to me. Rose nods. Not only did Dave not put down 4 7s, but he put 6 cards down instead of 4. Hal exclaims. Can we play poker later, since almost none of the sailors ever wants to play poker against you, apparently? When we were waiting to go to Somnos, people would drop out of games if Dave sat down to play. Solix says with a grin. I would love to play poker against you, especially if you're actually trying to win for once, since you apparently haven't been before now. Rose smiles darkly. That sounds really cool, actually. Dave smiles softly. Goddamn, Dave, you've entirely thrown the meta for this game out of the airlock. Roxy laughs loudly. Dirk nods his head with a small smile, like he's impressed that Dave was seemingly managing to double bluff this whole time when they played card games. It's obvious why Dave was doing it, why he had that skill, why it was in his interest for everyone to think he was a bad liar. But it's not turned into a big thing. You feel Dave relax a little next to you, and you wonder if he feels a little lighter for being able to shed another layer of pretense around people he cares about. The game continues, and you get to watch as Dave plays the game for real. You've not played this exact game before, so you don't know if he was pretending to not be as good at reading people in the past. He makes a few errors in that, but only Rose manages to call him out correctly in this first game before he wins. By the end of the second game, Solix manages to catch him cheating one time, although he also once calls him out when he hadn't done anything, so you're not sure that counts. Solix wins the second game, to his delight. In the third, Dave's enjoying himself enough that you can pick up when he's pleased with himself and trying to hide it, which helps you catch him out twice. That doesn't help you win, of course. Roxy narrowly scrapes a win that could have easily gone to Dave if she hadn't got lucky. The group switches to poker, which shortly just becomes only Roxy, Dirk, and Rose playing poker, with you as the dealer. Dave is obscenely good, and you can see why people don't play against him much. You're almost surprised that Solix isn't playing him, or rather that he stopped when Hal did. Then again, being overly competitive with Dave with the rest of his family here could be weird, and besides, he seems pretty set on talking to Hal. You listen to Solix and Hal talking happily to each other, and you can't keep the smile off your face. You love Solix, you do, but it's no secret that he can be kind of an asshole and a little bit prickly around people. You know, he even told Dave to his face when he moved in that he didn't think that the two of them were friends. So, sue you. It's nice to see Solix hanging around with someone who is very obviously a close friend. Solix is also very good at not treating any kind of disability or trauma as some desperately fragile and awkward situation. He hates getting that himself, so he doesn't dish it out. You bet a lot of people aren't sure how to act about Hal's new arm, but clearly Solix has no problem at all. So, Roxy begins in a small lull between games where you're shuffling and Dirk is getting snacks. How's not having Bro around all the time going for you? The room is tense, with no one sure how that's going to go, but also very much wanting to know the answer.
He wasn't always around. None of their ghosts are here now,
Dave points out, waving a hand at you and Solix.
Isn't Matuna massively distracting? He was always really distracting in school, even if he was funny as hell.
Hal asks casually, clearly trying to offset the tension a little. Yes, I missed him so much. I also really often wish I could smack him still. Solix snickers. Fair, but now Bro's never around, Roxy points out, ignoring the aside in favor of her question to Dave. More to the point, you know he won't be, Rose adds.
Yeah, I have not missed him appearing out of nowhere unannounced.
Carcat, give me that. You shuffle like a 5-year-old, Dave says, and holds his hands out for the cards. You suspect that he wants something to do with his hands, so you hand it over.
How did you manage to not give the whole thing away by jumping at him appearing when only you could see him? That's the real question,
Dirk asks, sitting down and opening a new bag of tortilla chips.
Practice?
Dave shrugs, shuffling the deck. Practice makes it sound like you've been bad at it for a while. I was able to get used to Matuna and Psionic when I was mostly around sailors who knew about them, Solix adds.
Fine. The bummer answer to this question is that we were all super jumpy when we got here. I just got good enough at covering it at the same speed that everyone else got better. Happy now?
Dave says tersely as he shuffles the cards together in 2 stacks with a fan of movement. The real question was actually, how is it now? You're kind of in the situation we were back then, right? Bro unexpectedly dead and all? Roxy says.
I don't know. I don't know how it is, okay?
Dave answers her. You can tell in his tone that he's not happy talking about this.
I hate that part,
Dirk says sullenly and shoves tortilla chips in his face. The not knowing how you feel part, or the not yet sure how to articulate it part? Rose asks curiously.
Yes?
Solix pipes up, inevitably from the background.
It sucks,
Dirk sighs.
I'm glad that he's gone, but I'm biased about that,
Hal says and flexes the fingers of his robotic hand. Yeah, that's fair, Roxy acknowledges.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not sad about the idea that he can't show up out of nowhere anymore. That always sucked, and obviously him being gone and unable to hurt anyone else is good. Hal should never have been hurt in the first place,
Dave says bitterly as he shuffles the deck more. You should never have been hurt in the first place. I mean, you specifically, Dave, but I'm extending that to all of you, you say firmly. So gracious. Dave, those cards aren't getting any more shuffled, Rose sighs. I don't think that you have to feel any kind of way about it. Dad always said that, right? Roxy points out.
That doesn't make it suck less,
Dirk shrugs. Did you plan this? Dave asks them, looking around at his siblings suspiciously.
I think if we had, then it'd be a little more coherent than this,
Dirk says dismissively. What about the last thing that you planned makes you say that? Your last intervention plan was a shit show. I think the argument in favor of you not planning this moment is that it doesn't feel like that, you shoot back.
And you're managing to stay sat in a chair,
Dirk retorts. We're not planning anything. This isn't an intervention for anyone, Roxy reassures everyone.
They're trying to make both of us feel normal again,
Hal says flatly.
Carcat is the most normal one here,
Dave says irritably. Why does that feel like an insult coming from you? Give me those cards already,
You hiss and take them from him. I just wanted to know how you were doing. I'm sure that's what Roxy was getting at too. That and the whole I don't know how stage is something we've all been through, including you, so I'm just saying that we get that feeling. Dirk says, clearly keen to clarify his point and not make this seem like an attack.
Even if we don't know how your exact situation feels, we can empathize with your response to it at least. And we're here for you,
Rose adds.
Also, I'm kind of glad about all of this,
Roxy says in a small voice, and everyone looks around at that. Explain, Hal says, gesturing for her to do so with his cybernetic hand, a choice which can only be deliberate.
Okay, not all of it, but I'm glad that things are out in the open now, that we can talk about this, that Dave can actually kick ass at this instead of holding back so we didn't think he was good at lying, because obviously that would have made us suspect that he could be lying about stuff,
Roxy says, tapping her finger on the table as you start to deal to indicate the card games that Dave is kicking ass at. And at least Bro can't hurt anyone else now. It's a hell of a parting shot, but... Hal sighs, looking down at his arm. I'm sorry, man. If I'd... Dave starts. Nope, you don't get to apologize again. It's not your fault. Hal cuts him off.
I know that we grossly complicated things for you, and that you and I have talked a lot about things that we don't want to talk about, but have to address since then. I'm not going to retread that or try to start that up again right now. Quite honestly, I'm not really emotionally up for that at this moment,
Rose says. Yeah, me neither, Dave interjects.
Fair, but I think it's also fair that we can just enjoy just this. Being together again and being able to be here for each other. It's good to see Hal's road to recovery progressing, as well as seeing you existing without having to bear the weight of so much secrecy and power,
Rose says, and plucks her cards from the table. I'm not really enjoying being free from the burden of power. It feels pretty shitty being useless, Dave says bitterly.
You're not useless, Dave,
you remind him. Suck my dick, Carcat. I don't need you patronizing me. Dave snaps.
I wasn't!
You protest. I think you've got to ask him nicer than that anyway, though. It's you, so maybe not. Solix laughs from Hal's side.
I'm steering this conversation valiantly back on track and away from anyone's genitalia. I just wanted to know how you're doing is all, Dave. I love you. I worry,
Roxy tells him sincerely. Thanks. Can we not talk about it? Dave asks with a sigh. Sure. So, how's the grip on that hand working out for you or Equius? I mean, sorry. How does your doctor feel that your fine motor control is progressing? Dirk asks meanly, ducking a thrown lounge plank cushion midway through that sentence without even pausing.
I think we should all have a sit-down dinner with Equius, really get to know him. Or maybe we could invite him to one of our game nights. I know we don't invite partners as a general rule, although that's...
Rose trails off as she looks at you and Solix. Don't torture Equius. I like him and also need him to keep seeing, Dave mutters. And I'd also like to keep seeing him, which I can't do if all of you scare him away. Hal agrees in a rather pointed tone.
When you get married, I'm playing that video of you stoned off of your face in the hospital at your wedding.
Roxy grins. You start the game back up, taking Roxy's cards back as she squeals and runs away from Hal trying to robo-punch her. The conversation shifts shortly after from the topics of contention before to the easier topics of the rest of their family, teasing Hal a little about Equius, and then your project with Hal for a translator. The energy of the room shifts, and you notice Dave relaxing again before too long. It's nice to see him approaching a different kind of normalcy with his family, and getting to see his siblings interact with him. Even when the interaction is on topics that you know everyone feels strongly about, when it concerns Dave's past and the Balancers, topics so charged that they led to a mutiny. Now, such things can be discussed over cards, a little tensely perhaps, but still. When the end of the evening rolls around, the atmosphere is perfectly normal. Everyone leaves with hugs goodbye, and even if Dave seems tired out, it appears that it's more from a lot of socializing rather than being emotionally burnt out. It's progress of a kind. Slow and awkward in parts, but it's progress. It's healing. Nothing can fix the fact that Dave is without most of his balancer powers now. No one can fix his lack of a ghost or help him know how to feel about Bro being dead for good, but life inevitably goes on. Time, callously, doesn't wait for people to be ready. It marches on anyway. You put your spoon down and then frown, as if you were supposed to do or say something, and it slipped away from you. What were you doing? The back of your throat crackle pops, and you realize at once that it's popping candy. The ice cream in front of you is Solix's. You're dreaming. A squeak of shoe rubber on the polished linoleum makes you look up, and you jump when you see that Solix is here. Solix! You call out, scrambling gracelessly out of the red vinyl booth. Solix doesn't look around. Instead, he keeps walking towards the far wall and the glass windows and doors on that side of the room. Solix, wait! You shout and hurry after him. Solix opens the door and steps through, a blast of cold air filling the parlor as he does so. He looks at you when he's through, almost confused, like you'd shaken him awake from sleepwalking. His eyes are solid white, though you only see them for a brief flash before the door shuts. It closes just in time to keep you out, and to pinch your fingers in the door jamb. Solix, get back here! You snap, yanking the door open and throwing yourself through it before you can think better. Gamzee mouths, "What?" at you in confusion, but then whoever he's on a call with takes over his focus again. You feel weird. Looking down at your hands, you feel like you're not quite yourself, simultaneously lost, but also drowning in deja vu. Not how that's spelled. You know what's happening here, and you have no idea what's happening here. Your claws are shockingly short, bitten right down to the quick. They look awful, so scruffy and out of place against your formal sailor's outfit. You're supposed to look presentable today of all days. As a former nail biter, I know exactly how that looks, and it is nasty. I said I was coming, Solix says in an offended tone as he steps out of your hive door and out into the corridor that you and Gamzee are waiting in. What? You say, feeling lost. You were the one yelling, Solix mutters. Yeah, because you were... Your voice dies in your throat, and you're aware that you suddenly can't say anything. Attempting to do so feels impossibly wrong. Sorry, I know we can't be... Solix halts as he goes to push his glasses up and accidentally smears his finger across the lens. Solix wrenches his glasses off with a pissed-off hiss and starts cleaning them as he mutters under his breath. You can't comment on his creative cursing because your attention is far too caught up on his eyes. Your eyes, they're all black and white. You breathe. Solix stares at you, wide-eyed, black and white, just like last time. You're dreaming, and he's awake. His expression is a blank kind of shock that morphs into intense focus. Gamzee, hang up! Carquette's having the dream! It's now! Solix shouts at Gamzee. Gamzee whips around to look at you, and after a stunned second of silence says, I'm gonna have to call you back, Nep. Carquette's dream is happening. Yeah, now. Yeah, okay. I'm dreaming. You're awake. You two know what's happening, and I don't. You state, as carefully as you can. We know what you know from waking up. You didn't know when this was, Gamzee says. Which means we can't tell him. Solix agrees. We're all dressed for sailor stuff, so... You trail off and look down at your hands. You're nervous, stressed out. That's why your claws are like this. You can feel the residual stress in your body, even now. So it stands to reason that you're going to some big sailor event, or something that calls for you to be in uniform. He didn't know shit, so why now? The point of this dream isn't giving him information, because he barely learns anything. Solix says, talking across you to Gamzee.
We're assuming there's a point at all. We don't know if there's a reason for this shit.
Gamzee grumbles, his tone incredibly bitter. Fuck that, Solix snarls, seemingly in agreement. You look around with a frown. If you're not going to know why you're here or when, then you have to try to work something out for yourself. You're going somewhere formal, or you're doing something official at least. Gamzee was waiting here with you for Solix, so it makes sense to assume that Dave isn't inside the hive. Otherwise, if he was running late as well, then Solix would have tried to get Dave in trouble too, wouldn't he? Okay, so if he's gone ahead, then what does that tell you about what you're doing? Does he not pass the sailor test himself? Does Cotard not sign him off as being flight ready? Or is Dave already where you're supposed to be, doing prep for a mission or something? You're hoping that he'll find something more to do now that it's clear that his balancing powers are gone for good. Why now? Why this moment? What are we supposed to do from this prompt? Solix asks, ignoring you.
There's nothing to do. We're in the hall outside of your hive. It's just...
Gamzee sighs and motions to the otherwise empty hallway. So, maybe we're not meant to be here. This started with me in there, Solix says as he points to the door to your hive. Did you forget something in there? Or did I forget something? Did Dave? You wonder as you look at the door to your hive. If you can ask the right question, then maybe something will work.
How was the stream supposed to end? Didn't he say Beck was there? Dave was still going on about Laika when Karkat woke up and told us about this, wasn't he?
Gamzee wonders. Solix answers him, but you don't catch the words over the screech of claws on metal. The hallway shakes violently, and you only just catch yourself against the wall. What the fuck? You yelp, clinging to the wall. Gamzee and Solix are both looking at you in confusion, standing entirely stable and calm despite the continued shaking around you. Don't you feel that? You demand, clinging to the wall. You look upwards at the ceiling as you hear nails scraping against metal, something out there desperately trying to get in. A bang from the outside of the hall makes you flinch in terror, a terror that's only deepened as the door to your hive starts to bend and warp. It looks less like metal now and more like fabric, like if you put your hand under your bedsheets and try to claw your way through. The surface of the door warps and bends as your bedsheets would. The door! You choke. It's trying to get through the door! The door! That's it! Oh, I'm so fucking stupid! Solix yells and runs for the door. Solix, no! You scream, throwing yourself after him, but yet again the door shuts before you can get to it. You collide with the metal only to recoil when it feels like whatever is trying to get through is attempting to touch you specifically. Sorry, nothing. Gamzee catches you as you stagger back in horror, his large hands wrapping comfortably around your shoulders.
You're okay. There's nothing wrong about the door. You're the only one seeing it,
Gamzee says, but that's not reassuring at all. You need to go in there after Solix. You need to... There's a bark that echoes in your bones. You look around Gamzee and stare at the dog in the hallway. That's not Beck, but you've seen this dog on Dave's shoulder before. Laika? You whisper. She barks again, so loud that you feel like your head might explode from it. And with that, you wake up. Waking up is fucking awful. Your head is in agony. Everything from your think sponge to your sinuses and every tooth in your head hurts. You have the misfortune of having fallen asleep in your bed with Solix last night. If you'd both been in his, then perhaps his medication for this awful migraine would have been nearby. As it is, you're both screwed. Solix, having frankly a better pain tolerance than you for this, manages to psionically open the door, and Beck sniffs her way into the room. His way. God, your head hurts so bad that you're even mentally incoherent. Beck hurries off and returns with Dave. He immediately gets what's wrong and rushes back with Solix's medication. Karkat too, Solix croaks, the quiet words agony to your poor thing sponge. I can't just give your medication to Karkat, Dave hisses back. making you sob into your pillow. Dave scurries out of the room and closes the door, but you can still hear his muted voice as he calls someone. Beck stays in the room with you, and when you pry one eye open to look, you can see him staring at you. He stands there, unblinking and staring into your soul. When Dave returns, he has some kind of medication in his hand. You gratefully take it and down a gulp of painfully cold water. It could be cyanide for all you care. Anything to stop your head hurting so badly. Dave crawls onto your bed between you and Solix and strokes one of his hands through your hair, eventually shifting to both of them when Solix moves to curl up against Dave's side. The pressure of Dave's fingers on your hornbeds and whatever medication he gave you eventually eases the pain back far enough so you can think. Your vision is still migraine glitchy, but you can open your eyes without it being utter misery now. You look over at Solix, laid against Dave's sides and methodically pressing his fingers along the pressure points in his forehead and temples to try to ease the pain away. Maybe you should try that. Looking up at Dave, you can see that he's on his palm husk, angling the dim light of the screen away from both of you as he types on it. How is this happening to you too? Solix finally asks, though you think he's waited until he saw some sign of life from you to do so. I had a future dream, but I only got there. I was in the ice cream. Fuck. You whine as your own voice makes your head throb. Choosh, Solix whispers, petting your face as Dave rubs at your scalp again. You try to make words happen once more. I had an ice cream dream again, but I saw Solix and followed him. I don't remember that, but that tracks, I guess. I know I was dreaming of the past again. I think Sponge is killing me and I've got a song stuck in my head. Solix murmurs. Right, I tried to follow you through one of your doors, not the ones with the lights, but I ended up in the future instead, like I did with that dream on the night with the password. You croak. Can I record this? Then I can send it to the others instead of me writing down what I think you said? Dave checks, and you hum affirmatively, not willing to risk nodding. Okay, Dave says after tapping at his palm screen. I was outside of our hive. Gamzee was there, and we were dressed in sailor gear. The all-white stuff, not training stuff. You explain. Maybe the mission to Skya, then? Solix suggests. I didn't know when it was, and you and Gamzee said that when I told you about this, now, I guess, we didn't know when it was, so we can't figure it out? You frown. The idea would probably hurt your head even without this migraine going on. So, our hive, you, Gamzee, and Solix. Dave prompts you. Right. Solix wasn't there at first, and I was yelling for him to come out because we had to go. I think we were supposed to be somewhere. Solix showed up bitching about me yelling. You continue. Fair, Solix says with a breathy laugh. I realized I was dreaming, and we talked about it. We were trying to work out why I was dreaming of that moment. I think Gamzee had been talking to Nepeta on a call. Oh, fuck, I saw the thing. You groan. The thing? Dave asks. The thing outside, whatever it is that's scratching outside trying to get in. It warped the door and the walls trying to get through, but no one could see it but me. It kept me from following Solix back inside. There's definitely something out there, and I don't think it's the Void. You insist. Wait, what? My head. What did it feel like? Solix asks, looking at you intently. Terrifying, you answer. Shouldn't that be obvious? No, I mean, did it feel like it was trying to hurt you? Was it malicious, or... I don't know why I'm asking. Anything out there trying to get in can't be good for us. We want to keep what's inside the ship inside it and not have everyone outside of it. Solix frowns. Speaking as someone who's tossed themselves outside the ship, I don't rate it as a good time. Dave agrees. I don't know. I was scared. I woke up when... You trail off and look at Beck, who was already staring at you when you look around. It's deeply unsettling. There
was a dog there. It barked. I know it was Beck, or it felt like... That's what my think sponge came up with, but it wasn't her. Him. Beck. You try to say, your mind getting scrambled as you talk.
Wait, was it Leica? Dave asks with a gasp, going to roll up his sleeve to show you.
Yes, you don't need to show me. I know. Please don't move. My head is killing me. It was her. She barked at me, and I woke up to this.
You groan. So she's warning us, then, about whatever's outside. You're warning us with your premonitions. Dave whispers.
Okay, when is this supposed to happen? If we're all in sailor gear, it makes sense that it'd be Skaya, and it makes sense if you're not there. Our shifts are split, and I know that Karkat and Gamzee are the other pair.
Solix says. But then you'd be down on Skaya. Well, unless it's day 1. Plus, there's still quarantine. We wouldn't be outside our hive. But then maybe it's different, since our pattern is all messed up now because of me. We don't know what changes Nepeta might still make to that. Or maybe you'll learn to balance again in the next week and a half. Dave suggests.
Are the two things connected? Whatever's outside and the doors with the coins?
Solix wonders. Why are we getting the ability to open a door if there's something out there? I don't want anything out there getting in. Dave says.
It was terrifying. I'm not eager to invite whatever that giant thing is outside.
You agree. Inside. Fuck. I can read.
We don't know anything about it yet. We're just finding out about this for a reason. We just don't know why. Help! I've gone illiterate. I don't know English. Remember when I said I knew English and that was the only one I knew? I lied. I actually know 0 languages. Fuck! We're finding out about this for a reason. We just don't know why yet.
Solix points out. I don't like it. Dave says simply and rests his head back on your pillow as he goes back to stroking through your hair as your migraine eases. Gamzee and Aradia don't like the results of your dream much either. They don't like that Solix had another dream, and they don't like even more that it's a space-themed song either. Galaxy Song by some old comedy group. You're a little worried about the message behind that one. Any song focusing so hard on looking out into space has to be bad news for you, right? What's weird is that you're now up to the same number of dreams and coins, assuming that Solix's new dream will move the number of lights up from 7 to 8. But over the next few days, no one suddenly discovers a new coin in their eye, and you do catch Dave looking at himself in the mirror a few times, as if he's checking. You're worrying about all of this in the background as you come closer to your final test date. Solix manages to prove himself enough to Nepeta that he doesn't have to retake his test. You barely scrape the running portion of your test after Aradia gives you extra training sessions, and you manage to survive the G-Force test by following some awful advice from Dave. Just get really angry, Dave suggests, right as you're about to go into the test.
What?
You hiss at him. You always get really flushed and dark when you're massively pissed off. I'm sure your blood pressure does something awful. The point is that if you keep all the blood in your head, then you won't pass out, Dave says.
I'm going to sit in there thinking about how much I hate you for that advice when I'm in there.
You tell him tartly. If it works, it works, Dave says cheerily. You want to punch him in the mouth for it. What's worse is that you do pass, and even midway through the test, when you realize that you might be doing well because of how angry and stressed you are, you then get angry about it in a meta kind of way, and that probably helps more. Either way, you pass, but you're not eager to get back inside that, and you're sure as shit not looking forward to the trip down to Skaya or any trips back. Everyone is, of course, delighted that you passed, and you can't be mad at their genuine support and affection. You can and will be mad about the fact that Solix looks like he wants to get back in the machine after you, just for fun. You think that perhaps you hadn't been ready for this mission, or you hadn't realized how much sooner it was going to be than you thought. As always, the last week before a mission is spent in quarantine away from the rest of the ship, which means that, in reality, you had a week less of your normal life than you'd really assumed that you did. It's all come up so soon, you weren't prepared for it. You're in better physical shape than you were, and you've been studying the language obsessively, cramming it into your head with as much fervor and intensity as you can possibly manage. And intensity is Karkat's middle name, so it must be a lot.
I'm pretty sure that I can make enough of these before the mission,
Hal says, running a finger over the boxy little machine that he's made.
By I, you mean we, I assume.
Dirk observes dryly. Hal waves Dirk's legitimate claims to credit away with a hand, his new hand, in fact. His current arm and hand are set up in their more permanent state. Equius is seemingly satisfied with how Hal is adapting to his new limb and has worked out any lingering problems that had remained. Hal certainly seems happier with this arm. He's shown you his fingerprints several times already. Honestly, if you hadn't been there when he lost his arm, if the memory of the bits of it plastered around the room wasn't scorched into your mind, then you wouldn't know that this arm wasn't every bit as biological as his other. Is it really reliable, though? I know it works in real time with my translations, but you based it off of that. Even trying to translate Spanish to Alternian with a machine like this doesn't work perfectly. Language is such a living thing that it's hard to manage to translate it accurately and sound like a regular person. You ask warily. You don't know how exact your own translations are, for one thing.
I'm sure it won't be perfect, but I've crammed enough intelligent software in there that it should be able to adjust and relearn as you go, especially if you stick with the same few Carapacians and learn their dialect.
Hal says lightly.
If you got a message from Rose and a message from Dave, you could tell who was who, even with them speaking the same language. It's not as if Dave is speaking Alternian wrong,
Roxy adds. Dirk leans back in his chair and twists a little to look at his sister.
Incorrectly. Yeah, so you may well end up picking up linguistic quirks from people the machine hears a lot, but you should still be more than intelligible. Or, more accurately, people who don't speak the language at all should be able to communicate with them without confusing things further. You may well upset pedants like Dirk and Rose, but you'll be understood. Any other literature that you can find and upload into the machines would vastly help, though,
Hal says after a second of judgmental silence directed at Dirk.
I think any of the rest of the fleet that's going there is going to want these,
you say, turning the box over in your hands. The device is far from pretty. It's got that industrial look that a lot of sailor gear has. The kind of design that says it fully expects that you may drop it off of a cliff and run it over with a vehicle, only to expect it to still function. Still, it's a proper translation device, a fully working real-time one for a language you have barely any contact with as a species is incredible, and you had thought that it would be purely science fiction. When you started working on this with Hal, you were mostly hoping for an intelligent guide to the language, a dictionary, grammatical cheat sheet, and subtitle generator at best. But this is incredible.
I'd like to share these with the rest of the fleet. The more data coming in from these devices, the better they'll work.
Hal begins.
Unfortunately, we've kind of tanked our reputation with the rest of the fleet when it comes to tech. Unless we can work out something when we get there, I think this is going to be confined to us.
Dirk finishes for him.
Yeah, we've not even got everything resolved with the captain yet. Ex-captain. But still, the Carapacians are on a bunch of ships on the fleet now, so there will still be demand for this in the future. Even if we just have to beam the specs ahead and let other, lesser engineers replicate our work.
Roxy adds.
Oh, that sucks for them, doesn't it? I get the real deal.
You snort.
Very much. Anyway, we're going to make as much as we can and send it ahead for quarantine loading.
Hal tells you. It's not like you couldn't send a box down when we're there. We'll be in outer orbit after all. This isn't Somnos. You point out. The triplets shrug, as if acknowledging your point, but also making it very clear that they're going to go hard to try to get everything made and ready for the first trip down to the planet. You know, because everyone in that family is fucking bonkers. The week prior to the mission arrives, and Dave diligently helps you and Solix pack, and walks you through the process of going into quarantine before the mission starts. You get your sailor clothes, both the full white set for official stuff and actual travel between the ship and the planet,
and the practical planet-based clothes that you'll be wearing when you're down there. The area of Skya that you're setting down on is reasonably temperate, so mostly your outer layers are light but made for tough wear and tear. Solix is grateful that he's not going to be freezing his ass off again. So, it's not now, Solix says as the three of you leave your hive on the day of quarantine. What? You ask, distractedly, as you go through the door and adjust the bag on your back a little more.
Your dream. I'm here and Gamzee isn't, so it's not today,
Dave says, figuring out what Solix means. Right? Solix checks. You look around and conclude that, yes, this isn't your dream. I should check my bag again, you mutter anxiously.
Your dream isn't in there to check. Quit changing the subject. Also, you've checked that thing how many times now?
Dave points out. If you did forget something, I'm sure someone could come by and pick it up for you, right? Solix says.
They try not to encourage that. It allows you to form bad habits. Pack your shit right the first time is pretty much the stance that the sailors take, so...
Dave shrugs.
Solix gives Dave a hard look, clearly annoyed at him for not helping you feel better. You'll be fine. Let me know if you get that weird dream déjà voulez-vous coucher avec moi, or whatever you call it, Dave says, starting to walk ahead.
No, Peralta, I don't want to sleep with you. Is that what that means?
I had a really gross tennis instructor. Sorry, I just started quoting. Guy who memorizes jokes.
You just fucked up so many different words and languages. What did they do to you?
You grumble and follow him. Dave starts out into a dumb ramble about languages and words. Man, what do they mean? You tune it out instantly and manage to tune it out even harder when Solix joins in, trying to argue against Dave, but really only encouraging his idiocy.
Maybe they're doing this just to take your mind off of things, but you can't help but feel anxious. This isn't your dream, so what have you missed? When is it going to be? Looking at your hands, it's obvious that you've been biting at your claws, a terrible nervous habit that you kicked years back and have now picked up again, but they're not as badly bitten as you'd seen in your dream, so what gives?
I think we should be back in time,
Dave says, the sentence sounding close enough to relevant and far enough from bullshit to make you pay attention once more. In time for what? You ask. Puppies, dude. I was saying about puppies, Dave says, clearly exasperated that you weren't listening. I keep trying to imagine what they're going to look like. Cinnamon Toast is so tiny and Beck's so big and fluffy. I keep imagining her with his coat, Solix says.
Or Cinnamon Toast on long Beck legs, but everything else the same?
Dave snickers. If they take after Beck, I think I'm going to be afraid for the ship on principle, Solix says and shakes his head. Beck has never had another incident of aggression, not since the day he showed up at your hive with Cinnamon Toast. You can only assume his aggression was him being defensive of the dog that's now carrying his puppies, but it was still terrifying at the time. That's not what's unsettled every balancer but Dave, though. The sudden spike in repeat appearances of Beck or Laika in balancer dreams is making everyone a little nervous that something is happening that you're not getting. It's not making Dave nervous, though. He's fully convinced that some long-dead space dog is trying to send him a message, and he's simply trying to work out what it is. Getting into quarantine is something else. It's weird being on this side, isn't it? Solix says quietly as you watch Dave's whole family descend on him to hug him goodbye and demand that he stay the fuck out of trouble this time. You look around for Cancri, since he said he'd be here to see you off into quarantine. Your eyes don't land on him, but Gamzee. You're used to picking him out of a crowd at these things, because you've always been the one saying goodbye to him. Now you catch his tall horns and wild hair and see him with Tavros. Something old and a little sore throbs in your chest as Tavros leans up to catch Gamzee's face in his hands and kiss the bridge of his nose. You two broke up for a reason. You want him to be happy. You've moved on as well, but it still feels sore. There, Solix hisses, pointing in the other direction. You don't even think he's even seen Gamzee.
Following the direction that Solix is pointing, you manage to see Cancri politely picking his way through the crowd towards you. Tell Cancri he's a nerd. You think that Solix said that for a split second, until you see Matuna leaning over Solix's shoulder. Both of them are grinning at you like they're the funniest people to ever exist, because of course they think so. And they're right! Karkat, sorry I couldn't get here sooner. It is very packed, Cancri says when he finally makes it to the front where you are.
There's a bigger crowd than usual, but no prizes for guessing why.
You agree, looking at the crowd around you and people from upper levels leaning over railings to watch it all. Quite. It's all still a bit of a diplomatic mess, but we're all working hard to fix things, Cancri agrees.
I will try not to cause any diplomatic incidents while I'm down there.
You promise.
I make no promises.
Matuna laughs. Matuna says he makes no promises about that, and he also said that he wants to tell you that you're a nerd. Solix tells him. Cancri's face shifts into an expression of age-old irritation with a note of fondness to it. You are impossible, Matuna. Cancri sighs, only making Matuna's grin spread wider.
Oh, fuck.
Solix whispers. You think he's talking about Matuna, or maybe Psionic is somewhere over in the direction that he's looking? You turn and instead see Disciple walking towards the three of you.
Disciple, I didn't expect you to come down here,
you say in surprise as she comes closer.
I wanted to. I've already found Nepeta, but I wanted to wish you good luck,
she says quietly. Matuna has already said that he makes no promises to avoid causing another diplomatic incident. Karkat says he'll try, Cancri says, ratting you all out. Oh my god, Solix groans.
Such a snitch,
Matuna accuses him. Thanks, Cancri, you say flatly. Just don't do anything that I wouldn't do, okay? Disciple says with a smile. We've heard all about the things you used to do. Solix laughs. It's not like she's all docile and mild now, either. You saw what went down with the captain.
I think we can live within those guidelines.
You agree brightly.
I'm sure. Could you two... Are Signless and Psionic here too?
She asks hopefully.
Let me get him,
you say, and both of you concentrate for a second to pull your remaining ghosts to you. As always, Signless and Psionic react to Disciple's presence. They're always relieved to see her, even if there's that hint of sadness to being around her. You wave a hand at their general area so that Disciple knows where to look.
I need you two to watch them carefully, okay? I can't lose any more of you,
Disciple says softly. Of course we will, Signless promises immediately. Psionic looks at Matuna and Solix, then at you and Signless. The noise he makes is anguished, as if the thought of anything happening to any of you is soul-wrenching. You know how he feels. When you thought that Solix was dead or in danger, it was unbearable.
Signless promises,
you reassure her.
Psionic wouldn't do anything that'd hurt us. He's always looking out for us,
Solix adds.
He doesn't have to do it so much now that Bro's dead,
Matuna mutters, looking over at the Strider family. You suppose they still have to contend with GHB, but that's certainly fewer murder-happy ghosts around for Psi to worry about.
Be safe. Help people. You should always be familiar with that.
Disciple smiles at the space her long-dead partners occupy. She steps forward and pulls you into a hug and kisses your forehead, then does the same with Solix. Matuna doesn't move from where he'd been hanging off of Solix's shoulders, so the Disciple's hug more or less encompasses him too. The tearful expression on his face just about breaks your heart.
You promise that you'll be careful? I don't want to see anything happen to any of you,
Disciple says, looking at each of you in turn, even the people that she can't actually see.
I'm sure something will happen to us. That's how time passing works,
you say.
Karkat!
Solix says with a horrified tone. No, he's right. Just in the nature of time passing and events happening, things will happen to you. Even if those things are got up and had breakfast, that's still a thing that happens to you. Kankri points out.
Thank you, Kankri,
You say, vindicated in your point.
I hate when they agree,
Mituna mutters. They do have a point, Signless adds. Psionic groans and his head falls backwards, just to really let the sound of dismay directed at Vantis's in general really resonate. What's better is that he can't understand Signless's words. He just knows him well enough to know.
We'll try to stay alive in one piece and out of trouble. Wait, no. We'll try to stay the same amount of alive that we are now and in the usual amount of trouble.
I'm not promising that I won't annoy people for fun. You have to be reasonable here, Dis, Solix says cheerfully.
Hell yeah,
Mituna says with a nod. I think the usual amount of trouble has been the problem lately, hasn't it? Signless asks.
It's the usual amount of trouble that I'm worried about. Tone it down slightly,
Disciple argues, accidentally talking over but agreeing with Signless as she does so. You falter as a cry for help grabs your attention. It's Dave. You turn and stare as Dave is nearly crushed in June's arms as she hugs him fiercely. His attempts to escape are hampered by Roxy and Jane, who also seem dead set on squeezing the life out of Dave.
Should we help?
You wonder.
I would, but
I'm staying out of trouble. Solix laughs meanly as Dave yelps at Roxy, smooching him on the cheek as dramatically as she can. You look and see Dave's other siblings and father doing absolutely nothing to save Dave from his fate at all. Not that you can blame them. It was all pretty traumatic last time. You get why they'd be reluctant to let Dave go without a fuss.
I'm going over there to save him.
You sigh. I'm going over there to mock him at close range, Solix adds. Hey, wait, Kankri calls, stopping you both with a hand on each shoulder.
What's wrong?
You ask. I am going to miss you when you're away, but I am very proud of the work that you've put in for this. I know that your situation as a balancer wasn't one that you fully chose, but I know that you're going to do your best to help everyone on Skaya. They're very lucky to have you, but please be careful, Kankri says, and pulls you into an awkward hug.
Oh, thank you. I'll miss you too,
you say awkwardly, finding that you mean it a little as well. You've not been hanging out every day or anything, but you get on far better than you did before all this spooky shit started. You might actually miss him when you can't talk to him. Solix, I know you also didn't sign up for this, but the Carapacians are very lucky to have someone as smart as you helping them. Please don't do anything reckless, and don't let Mituna talk you into anything reckless either, Kankri tells him.
Bitch!
Mituna growls. Mituna called you a bitch. I don't go looking for trouble, you know. It just happens, Solix says defensively. I've heard that before, Disciple says flatly, and Psionic makes a noise of offense. Ooh, busted! Mituna cackles. Signless is looking anywhere but at his partners, clearly trying to stay out of this one. Signless, I am sure that you will be a good influence. Mituna, I'm sure that you will be good company. I'd like to say more about Psionic, but I'm afraid I've not spoken to you enough to know, but from your descendants and from the stories I've heard, I will just hope that you can interfere with each other's impulses to get in trouble in a way that'll cancel it all out. Hopefully, Kankri says with a sigh. Telling captors not to do something, though, Signless says warily, and sure enough, all three captors are looking at each other and clearly agreeing silently to help each other create as much chaos as possible.
I take it back. Please go on the planet and cause chaos all the way down there and not up here,
Disciple laughs. The potential future captor chaos is interrupted as Dave barrels into you and turns you around to use as a troll shield against his relatives. Stay back! I have a Karkat and I'm not afraid to use him, Dave threatens. The effect of several of Dave's siblings all trying to land their own innuendo-laden comeback to that is audio chaos, and you thankfully hear none of them in any detail. Dave pauses when his father steps forward with a look of fond exasperation at his children.
Please put the nice Mr. Vantus down, Dave,
Mr. Egbert says, as a smile of amusement twitches at the corner of his mouth, spoiling his otherwise very proper expression that he's clearly going for. Okay. Dave sighs and lets you go. Mr. Egbert steps in and pulls Dave in close for a hug.
We'll let you go now. I'm sure you have a great number of things to be doing. We all love you very much, and we're always sad to see you go. Please, have a good trip and take care of yourself in the time that you're away. I love you very much. I'm proud of you, son.
Dave's face is buried in his father's shoulder, and there's a muffled sound from him that is definitely speech, but aside from picking up that Dave is emotional, you don't know exactly what he said. When Dave steps back, his face is schooled back into something controlled. Dave waves one last goodbye to his family and goes to leave. You and Solix follow after him, as you've pretty much said your own goodbyes already. You'll be back on the ship before too long anyway. Even if you'll be stuck in quarantine, you can still talk and indeed see people through parts of the quarantined area. It'll be fine. As you pass through the door, you feel the impulse to take one last look back at the main part of the Atuan, of sailors saying goodbye to their loved ones, the crowd that you're usually part of. But that's not what catches your eye. What ends up happening is you look over at Dave's family and you make eye contact, not with any of his siblings or his father, but with Beck. Beck, who is standing motionless at Rose's side, staring intently at you as you walk away with Dave and Solix. Your skin prickles and a sense of unease grows within you. How can you explain that, though? You looked back and saw Dave's dog and got weirded out because of some dream? It's stupid. You're being silly. You wander into the quarantine area and let Dave and Solix show you around. Your ghosts wander off together to explore, which is fine by you, as you still have to find where you're sleeping. Since Nepeta has the three of you down as being in a relationship, she's put you three in a single room together with a large bed. You're pretty sure that this is some kind of privilege. Either that, or it suggests that Nepeta thinks that the three of you have no self-control and you'll just be weird with each other in a shared room. Wait, are we being given our own room because Nepeta is favoring us, or because you two were weirdly intense about your own feelings the last time you were on a mission? You ask suspiciously.
We weren't together then, you know that,
Dave points out, dropping his bag on the floor in the corner and pulling his tablet out of it. You look at Solix suspiciously. Were you pining so hard that they gave us a room alone this time? I don't think so, but also it's Nepeta, so who knows what she thinks. Or what Lonk said, or the rest of Dave's crew of asshats that I actually like, Solix says defensively.
Bunch of likable jerks, how dare they?
Dave snorts. You put your bag down as well and think about it. You and Gamzee are always going to be in a pair, same with Solix and Aradia. Dave is more free-floating, but it means that it'll only be this beginning of the mission and the end of it where all three of you are sharing this one bed. You'll probably be in here for a night or so in different pairs or alone as the whole Skya thing progresses, but even so, it's going to be a little weird. Have Nepeta and Polypa nailed down the final schedule for us on the planet? You ask.
I know it's different, but who knows if it's final. The days are different to the original one, that's for sure.
Dave shrugs. If they change anything or adjust their plans in all of the meetings that we've got this week, then it could shift, right? Solix checks, sitting down on the large bed.
Yeah, but probably not by that much. It's still gonna be pairs, and I'm not in one.
Dave mutters that last part. Nah, you're in the middle of both of us, Solix says with a grin. Dave pauses at Solix's dumb innuendo. He stands up and looks around at Solix and then at you.
Sounds like fun,
Dave says simply, giving absolutely no hint as to whether he's joking or not. Yeah, Solix falters, suddenly not sure either. Dave is watching him with all of the intensity and unreadability you'd expect from the poker face he actually does have when he wants to. It's like he's daring Solix to actually commit to the suggestion, which is fine for a pitch thing, but you're apparently involved in this. Wait, sorry, is this an actual suggestion happening here? You ask. Dave looks at you with an expression that's a lot less intense, and instead there's a hint of playful teasing in it. It's a lot more like the Dave that you're used to seeing. Hey, it is a big bed. Dave shrugs and flashes you a grin. That's not a committed yes, but if anything, that suggests that he's not confident to give up the excuse that he was just joking, which suggests that there's sincerity to be hidden. If there wasn't, then there wouldn't be anything to play off as a joke, right? Dave's focus shifts back to Solix and then to his tablet. Anyway, we're supposed to be in a Balancers and Big Bosses meeting in a minute, Dave says lightly, and then looks up at Solix with that same intense look as before. I'm sure you won't have any problems focusing, right? Come on, you two, Dave says, and leaves the room as casual as can be. You and Solix stare at the shut door as you process that Dave isn't joking. You look at Solix, who is staring wide-eyed at the door. You just catch him whisper, "Both," to himself before he leaps to his feet in a desperate scramble. "Come on!" Solix hisses and drags you out of the room after Dave, suddenly very keen to follow Dave's lead indeed. Holy shit! Y'all go enjoy gay people for a minute. I'm so fucking hungry. I'm back. I was stuffing my face because I was so hungry. But now I'm back. Who's ready? Are yous ready? Sniles? Alright, let's switch this over. Or actually, no, let's not switch this over. Hold on. Here we go. Do this. Okay, now we switch this over. Because now it fits in the screen. I don't know why my thing isn't the right proportions. I don't know why my thing isn't the right proportions. That's like really weird. I'm gonna have to... Should I check my... Sorry, I'm just thinking about it now, because the way that I made this overlay PNG was to take a rectangle the size of my screen and carve around it. So why on earth does it not fit? No, it couldn't be, because the screen itself, like the entire screen including the taskbar, is that the problem? It's because it's excluding the taskbar. Hold on. Yeah, it would be excluding the taskbar. Everything is so inconvenient forever! Anyway. Today's password was given to us straight up in narration. And then really not discussed further. So, Galaxy song. Bonk. You feel like you already know what the song will be this time. Whenever you have to sing to bring your friend here is technically a mystery, but sometimes you have a feeling already. A mood, a thought, a vibe that has you reaching for your playlists and extensive song libraries. The ice at the edge of the lake crunches underfoot as you trudge along the shoreline, making sure that you're far from other people. Not like there's many tourists about these days, or at least the ones that are traveling or trying to see things before they're gone. Make one last trip to the place they're from in the last 5 years you all have left. Less than 5, actually. Fuck. When you happen across a big rock, you chance sitting on it, hoping that all of your warm winter clothing will insulate you and not fucking ice weld your taint to some Siberian boulder. After a shimmy about to get as comfortable as you're going to get, you pull your glove off of your right hand by biting the tips of one of the fingers. When your naked hand is free to the bitter cold, you get your phone out with your other hand and tap at the screen until the song starts to play.
You don't sing the first verse, just listen to it. The intro to this was for some comedy sketch, but the point was that the python who was singing was meant to be showing the character it was sung to just how unimportant she and her concerns were in a vast universe. Apparently it used to be a hit with physicists, but for obvious reasons, songs like this feel very different these days. You start to sing as the first verse kicks in.
Just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. That's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned a sun that is the source of all our power. The sun and
You look up at the sky, not directly at the sun, but you're still thinking of it. In the increasingly near future, it won't be there. It's too big to think about, but you keep trying to imagine the sun that's been there for the whole life of every living thing on this planet simply not being there. It's all going to go. All of it.
galaxy itself contains 100 billion stars. It's 100,000 light years side to side. It bulges in the middle, 16,000 light years thick, but out by us it's just 3,000 light years wide.
Movement by your side makes you look, and sure enough, it's Solix. He looks at you curiously and moves to sit at your side. You could stop singing now that he's here, but you feel that this one should be seen all the way through.
Millions of billions in this amazing and expanding universe.
Solix is looking around at the lake and the sky as the instrumental of spacey orchestral sounds serenades you both. You turn your phone screen to help as he tries to see it, and even flick your thumb upwards to show him the lyrics. When you start to sing again, he murmurs along, but it's like he can't read it fast enough to keep up.
The universe itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz. As fast as it can go, at the speed of light, 12 million miles a minute, and that's the fastest speed there is. So remember when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely is your birth. And pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, 'cause there's bugger all down here on Earth.
The last little comedy cymbal hits, and you pause the song before it goes on through whatever else you have in this playlist.
When is this? Solix asks a few moments later.
March 15th, 2031. About 3 years since last time.
You answer for him. It's not been that long for me, Solix observes.
Well, at least it's recent for you. If it wasn't, I'd be bitter about you aging better than me.
You snort. You're not really bitter about it, since you know you're not going to get the chance to look much older than you do now. Once you're adults, it's a little hard to read human age for me, at least until you're really old. Where are we? Solix asks with a little shrug.
Lake Baikal in Siberia, Russia. It's the oldest lake in the world. Something like 30 million years old or whatever. It's old, unlike the new island parts, the plant that lives a long time, the clock part. It's all time shit.
You tell him. Solix nods silently, staring out at the frozen lake with his arms resting on his bent knees. Sorry, my ability to speak has once again eluded me. He seems as somber as you've been feeling, which is a little unusual for him.
What's wrong?
You ask, and then look around as worry rises in you.
It's not whatever was around last time, is it?
Right. You saw that. What did you see? Did you see a car alarm? 'Cause there's a car alarm. Fuck off. Did y'all hear that? There's a non-zero chance that you heard that. Yeah, okay. I almost prefer that because I decided to comment on it, and if you didn't hear that, then I would have sounded insane. Anyway. Right, you saw that. What did you see? He asks, turning to look at you. You hesitate. You'd like to say that remembering what you saw was hard, but it's not. Whatever that was, it haunts your nightmares multiple times a year. What was with us that day? There was someone else there. Do you know what that was? You ask instead. Solix winces and then sighs. So, you know how I don't remember this when I'm awake?
Yeah, but you left yourself a message before. You said you get bits of this, the music, but not much else.
You agree. Right, so there's a me that's here, me, but there's a me that's... I'm from way ahead of now, but I can't remember it. The other me is getting me back to the right when to talk to you. I have 2 bits that Awake Me doesn't remember yet, he explains. Yet? You ask, and Solix gets a look on his face as if his own words have surprised him. And do you mean you're ahead of now from my perspective, or yours? How far in the future are you coming from? Solix's mouth is open, but he seems stunned into silence. You've seen this with ghosts before, where they're almost at the point of realizing that they're dead. The idea is too huge to look at, but they've tripped over the edge of it all the same. I think I'm from now. Awake Me's now, your future, because I come back when he gets the songs you sing, so I think that makes sense? Maybe? He says, without much confidence. And the other one? You question him. I don't know. I haven't seen him, only the other balancers have. They were here that time. Not here, but... Solix waves a hand in the air. On the island. You finish for him, and Solix nods. You shove your hand back into your glove and try to rub both hands together to keep warm. As you do, you try to think about this. So, there's Awake You. Poor guy doesn't know jack shit. He's getting a bunch of songs stuck in his head and a message on his wall. Then there's you. You show up here when I sing something, and he dreams it. Then another you who's directing all of this? You question him, laying out each bit. I think, from what the others said, he had the door, so I think he's the one who knows about the keys you're getting. Solix agrees. Which is why you don't know about that. You just know what you have to know to make me get whatever it is each time. Okay, fine. So explain about the others in the island. You tell him. Solix hops off of the rock and paces about a little as he talks. It's so odd to see him somewhere so cold in what looks like absolutely inappropriately mild clothing. You feel like you should give him your jacket or something. The balancers they can get in each other's dreams. I can't do it. They can, but they've never seen me because I guess whenever I do that, I'm here doing this. Solix says, sweeping his arm to include you and your planet. They managed to find a way to get to me. That's how we figured out about the music. And then they went looking for real. Followed other me down to a dream that connects to you. They saw other me, and they saw us too somehow. They managed to get out of that and onto the island with us. I couldn't see them at all, but other me could. Solix explains. It felt out of time, like you do, but it felt nasty, Solix. It felt really mean and angry. The kind of spirit that I usually wouldn't fuck around with unless I knew exactly what I was doing. You say emphatically. That was probably Bro, or GHB. The ghosts were there too, so yeah. Bro and Dave weren't exactly cool with each other, and you're everything the guy thought was good, and we were talking about how you're nothing like he thinks you are, how you hate who he is. Solix tells you in a quiet voice, and looks out over the frozen lake. The song I sang scared the thing I felt. You add. You're not sure that Solix is right about who it is that you felt. His work name is Laika, because of the dog. Solix says softly. Solix, what I saw. You start. What did you see? He interrupts, looking at you again intently. You close your eyes. Seeing isn't actually the best term for it. Sometimes if you try to put everything you experience with your sixth sense, or whatever you call it, goddamn you, Bruce Willis, into sight, then you miss things. So it didn't really look like anything, despite you seeing it. It was dark, impossibly dark, and big, but it felt... You try to word this as best as you can in your second language to someone else speaking this as their second language with less skill at it than you. It felt cold, angry, and alone. Like being in a zoo alone at night and something is trying to get through the bars because it wants you and anyone who kept it in the zoo. Like the last girl alive in the horror movie snaps and grabs a chainsaw to turn the tables. It was big, Solix, and I don't think it was human. I get it, you're not human either, but it didn't feel like you do. You tell him. Solix frowns and doesn't say anything for several achingly quiet seconds. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's something going on in my time. People keep saying they can feel something, hear something scratching to get in, and Dave can't... Your mom fucked us. Solix says that last part sharply. Unfortunately for him, you have no idea what to say. My mother? My dead mother, who I haven't seen since she vanished into the mist after giving me a list of places and dates to meet you? What do you mean she fucked you? You ask in complete confusion. I mean, she showed up in our time. I saw her when I was awake. She showed up with your daughter and your grandson, Bro's brother Dave. Solix says angrily. Sophia? You saw my mom, Sophia, and my not yet born grandson that she named after me? You repeat. Yeah, they showed up and your mom gave us a bunch of magic coins and made it really clear that they're for this door that we keep seeing. Not enough of them to match the things on it, but whatever. Then the three of them murdered Bro's ghost right in front of us, and now Dave is messed up about it, and he can't do this ghost stuff anymore. Solix says, pacing about in irate little circles on the icy shore. I thought you hated the guy, you say in confusion. I do! Solix yells. Okay, then aren't you happy that he's gone at least? You said he was torturing your Dave. You point out. Solix's expression looks like he's trying to untie an unexpected knot in a cherry stem with his tongue. That's how intently focused and also confused he looks. I do hate... Whatever. Dave's really screwed up about it. We don't know why they did it. All for some stupid coins? He says bitterly. You don't know what to say. You don't know why your mother or your daughter would do something like that. Killing someone isn't something you'd think that either of them were capable of. Or, well, no. You could see that your mother would have killed for you when she was alive, if she had no other option and someone was really hurting you, then maybe. My mom was always protective of her family. She could be pretty fiery. I wouldn't cross her, and she was pissed when she heard what my grandson was doing, but I don't think she'd leap to murder for no reason. Obviously, she knows something we don't, but I can't ask her anymore. You point out. Solix's shoulders slump, and he falls silent, looking out at the frozen lake. The unexpected line of murder-based conversation snuffs out, leaving you both silent. Your eyes drift over the icy surface as well, and you pull your glove off to get access to your phone again. You look down at the wiki page for the lake. At its deepest part, this lake is 11 kilometers deep, straight down. You tell Solix. Yeah? He says softly, still looking out there. The place is filled with life, unique to just here. We've been trying to get records of everything we can on Earth. All the animals, DNA of everything, seeds of everything. The first test ships have been launched. They're going out to Mars and back to prove that they're safe. You tell him. I never read about any big failures. Humans kind of sprinted the whole space thing pretty good. Solix says, glancing back at you with a reassuring smile. That's good. I'm not testing that shit, but it's good to know it doesn't go badly wrong. I wonder how much stuff we miss, though. Apparently, this lake has this seal that only lives here. Can we make them again one day? Or in 5 years' time, are they all going to be poof, gone? You ask, gesturing like it's the world's worst magic trick. I don't know. I don't know how much we got from Alternia either. I know we got stuff to make food, but if Jade or Radia was here, they'd know. Solix explains, and that's fair. He didn't train for this. Who are they? You wonder. Dave's ex-girlfriend and my ex-girlfriend? Solix says casually. Oh, awkward. You grimace. Nah, we're all friends. Also, they're dating now, too. Solix snorts. God damn, you people have your shit together in your gay space future, don't you? You laugh. Yeah, well, it's not all great for us. I didn't tell you about Hal, right? He asks. You know the name from his earlier talks with you. One of Bro's kids, right? You're Dave's older brother? The trans one whom my stupid grandson was a bigot about? It's a pretty distinctive name, so I remember, yeah? Bro's been talking to his wife. Don't know what he's saying for sure, but it's bad. Dave and Carcat caught him because Hal found his signal. He was using a... Solix pauses and squints at you. After a second, he looks increasingly frustrated. Forgot the word? You guess. Yes, that. Solix points at your lap, and after several very inappropriate guesses flit through your mind, you realize he means your phone that's resting on your legs. I did fully pre-read this chapter actually today because I fucking forgot last night. That part slipped through my eyeballs. Awesome. Phone? You suggest. Yes. He managed to blow it up. Don't ask how. Hal was holding it. He lost his arm. He's got a new machine one now, but Solix sighs. Wait, so this happened before my mom showed up with my kid and her kid to kill Bro? No duh, of course it did. You don't think that finding out about that might have made her want to take him out so he couldn't hurt anyone else anymore? You ask. Your mom wasn't some violent killer, but seeing someone blow up their own kid would probably do it, especially as both people are her descendants, and hurting family is just wrong beyond measure. For her to go that far takes a lot, but it's safe to say that Bro had it coming from everything you've heard. Wasn't everything that happened to Dave enough? Solix says softly, not quite looking at you. The cold wind whistles from across the frozen lake, and you almost feel what your great-grandson must feel, this other future Dave who watched your mom enact some kind of vengeance. If Solix is saying that, then either it's something Dave has wondered, or it's simply the obvious question. Why was it okay if it was him, but not his brother? Is that right, though? But you try to think how to word this. You're from the future. What happened to Dave is from your past, right? All the stuff my grandson and his wife put him through has already happened. Yeah, from my time it's in the past, Solix confirms. Then, if Mom went ahead into our future, your past, and stopped that, then you wouldn't have come here and told us. You explain. Say that again, slower, he tells you. You do, and you get to watch your alien buddy unspooling weird time travel logic through his second language. This whole situation is just such bullshit, really. She can't do it. It doesn't... Solix tries to touch his fingers together, but has them misaligned, like the messed up timeline his suggestion would cause. You'd Marty McFly yourself. You nod, sagely. What? Boo! The alien doesn't get your already dated references. Bitch, toss me forward in time. I'm gonna make him watch it. I wanna watch it. I recently saw the musical. It's pretty good. It's time travel rules, you say instead. Fuck time travel, Solix hisses. You are literally time traveling, man. I hate to break it to you. You point out. Fuck me! Solix retorts. Wrong Dave, you say, at the same time that Solix says it, making him laugh loudly and show off his weird alien teeth. Hey, can you try to remember to do me a favor when you wake up? You ask, and hop off of the boulder. I just got a new wall, and I think I'm in Carcat's bed right now. Solix whines. Yeah, no, it's not that urgent. You don't need to vandalize shit. It's more of a suggestion. Can you try and do what I would do with whatever this thing is? That thing that I felt, and the thing that you said people are feeling on your ship? Try and see if you can feel what it wants. If it wants to get in, why? Is it scared? Or does it want to hurt you? Or something else? Figure that out, you suggest. Solix nods and then looks down at the ice on the edge of the shore. It's the oldest and deepest lake in the world. Who knows how many times this exact bit of water has circulated around in this lake without evaporating away. If it even makes sense to think of that. All water on your planet is trapped in that water cycle diagram that you learn as kids. You crouch down by the water and pull the mini thermos out of your pocket and unscrew the cap off of it. When's the next time for you? Solix asks quietly. August 2035. Real close to the end. You answer, knowing just how close that is and how soon it's going to come. I wish I could fix this, he offers. It's a useless thing to say, but you appreciate the feeling. It's already happened, right? Time travel bullshit, you say wearily and pick up a chunk of ice from the shore. As soon as you touch it, Solix vanishes, just as you knew he would. You screw the thermos shut and tuck it away again. Ancient water from an ancient lake. Check. 8 down, 2 to go. That's it. That's it for tonight, my dear friends. Yeah. It's funny because it's not the first time that you've done that. Far from it, in fact. Yeah. Yeah, time travel really is such bullshit. Man. Ooh. Hey, Frosty is just about the right consistency, I think. Here, let me take a look. Yeah. I found a chocolate Frosty in my freezer, because on Saturday we went to Wendy's and I had this and I put it in my freezer and then I forgot about it. But then I looked during break today and I brought it out to, thaw a little bit before I eat it. And now it's just about the right texture. That's the trick, by the way. If you ever have a Wendy's Frosty, what you're gonna want, and you're not gonna eat it right away, like if you want to save it for later, what you're gonna want to do is freeze it before it gets a chance to melt. I mean, if it starts to melt, that's like fine if you don't mind chocolate flavored ice, which I don't mostly, but if you want to preserve the texture, you want to freeze it before it gets a chance to melt, and then you take it out and you let it sit for a bit to sort of start to thaw, and then it'll be perfect. I used to worry that part of it had to do with That's correct. Time travel ice cream. Oh no. Time travel ice cream is just a terrible combination of Solix's dreams and car cats.
Which technically Karkat already did that today. Anyway, yeah, I used to think that, how long it was in the freezer played an impact, like, only keep it in there for, like, a day, but this, by my count, has been in, this would be the 6th day, if we're counting the day I got it, so it's like 5, yeah, we'll say 5 days, and, like, this seems fine. I did forget to get a spoon, but that's okay because I'm about to end the stream and I can go grab one. So anyway, that's my life hack, is you can preserve a Wendy's Frosty. You just have to be quick about freezing it. Because usually what I do is like, oh, I'm sure I'll get to it, but I eat like a bird and I also take forever. And so it starts to melt before I can decide, okay, yeah, actually I can't get to this right now. I need to put it away. So that's usually what happens. But this time I was like, okay, I know exactly. Because you know why? Because it was on Saturday, and so I was about to do stream, and I was like, okay, if I just leave this sitting here for me while I'm streaming, it's just gonna I'm just gonna have chocolate milk. Which isn't bad, but it's not what this is supposed to be. So, I went ahead and put it, in the freezer right when I got home. And that preserved its lovely texturiness. You know? If ice cream gave me migraines, there would be no point. I'd just have to give up. Yeah, I just have to end my sad little life right then and there. 'Cause I need ice cream in my life. And if you try to keep it from me, I'll fucking hunt you down. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I should turn off the stream and put the VOD up. I want to ask Wander if they want to play Phasmo, but I want to read tomorrow's chapter first, so I don't forget and or have to stay up really late doing it. So I'm gonna do that first. Okay, yeah, you do that. And then... yeah, fucking, maybe you should take care of that then. I'll probably bug you again about it, when I'm done with the chapter, but, foisting's foist. You know? Alright, y'all. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me on this, gay space future journey. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Yay! Yay! Bye.